Afternoon punters, Wagering Angles video for Friday, January 19, ahead of a good card at Flemington tomorrow. There's going to be a new segment on the end of this video this week. During the course of any normal week, I watch a lot of video and occasionally things just catch my eye. So not necessarily horses to follow, but things that were just so unusual that I have to mention them. So keep an eye out for that at the end. Just a quick look at Flemington last week. Starting in race 3, Otago was a lightly raced runner. Sort of runner the market doesn't really want to let you on these days. He ended up going around $1.75, had the perfect run and scrambled home by about a neck. So it's a regular occurrence these days, that type of thing, but it's just part of the environment. The most interesting race on the card last week clearly was race 7. When I did the video last week, at that point, Vagrant was $12 and Helix was $6. Punch Lane and a couple of others came out, triggering a 25-cent deduction. So that made Vagrant $9, Helix $6. They ended up running $5 and $3.50 and Quinella in the race, with Greenbelt easing from $2.50 out to $4.20. So it was quite a market shift there. So that was a very interesting race and a good result. Race 10's worth mentioning. When I was assessing the fields last week, there was quite a solid southerly forecast in the 25 to 35 kilometre range. It didn't eventuate, and that made the task of leaders easier, and the market reacted to that, and Jungle Gym went around a heavily supported favourite into 260. Isn't Me did a good job chasing him, and they were well clear of the rest. So in the end, a credible win for Jungle Gym. Well done to him. Let's move on to this week at Flemington. I'm just quickly going to mention race 1, but the less time spent on it, the better. It's a 6-horse field. The third pick went up between $9 and $11. And I'll just mention Sportsbet embarrassed themselves. They weren't the only ones, putting up both Bermudez and Super Razi odds on. I mean, if that had happened back in the 80s or the 90s in the betting ring, the crowd would have just gone crazy. I mean, it wouldn't have happened. The on-course bookmakers had too much self-respect to behave in that manner. It's disappointing that the corporates think that type of thing is okay. But the less said about that race, the better. Neither of those runners are horses you really want to be backing as favourites. So we'll just move on from that. And we'll go straight over to race 4, which is a very interesting race. So Steffi Magnetica has had 6 runs. She's won 2 of them at Wellington and Orange. Her city runs have been fair and her trials have only been fair. On the strength of that, the tab put up 480. She was supported immediately, and then subsequently Sportsbet opened her at 250 and brought the rest of the market into that 270 to 290 range. She's eased since and is currently sitting at $3. I mean, she's got scope for further improvement, and it is a signal of intent that the stable are sending her down here and booking Jamie Carr, but she doesn't have the substance to hold a dominant position in this market. And I would, if Osmar's first up, and she's quite a big mare, but I think from that camp with Mark Zara booked, she'll turn up and parade in good order. She's, as I said, she's trialled well. And I think Osmar's a chance of running favourite ahead of Steffi Magnetica. There are other runners here that will, attract supports. Celestial Storm's off a straight win, and B Shin, they'll be interested in her. Spicy Margs is coming out of a pretty fast race at Geelong, and they'll be interested in her as well. And Power Ballad's a horse I'm interested in. I thought her first up win at Canterbury was really good, beating 2 subsequent city winners, and She climbed straight out of that into a much stronger race. That was a high pressure race, and she did succumb to that pressure late, but her run had merit, and she then struggled on a heavy track at Warwick Farm. She's come down to Melbourne, had a jump out since where she went particularly well, and I like the way she changed legs when a runner come up on her outside. That's a good attribute to have in straight racing, and I think she's got credentials, and I'm not sure what the market's going to do with her. She could go either way, but I definitely think she's an interesting winning chance in the race. Moving over to race 6, it's not a strong race for Saturday grade, but from a wagering point of view, it's worth talking about. Zambaguni's had 4 runs since being gelded. They've all had merit. He should have won last start. He was only beaten by an overconfident ride. He's got a wide draw. Ben Mellum goes on in what looks like being a fairly soft tempo race. So there's just a lot of factors pointing to him being well supported here, and I think he'll run a clear favourite. Part of that picture is the alternatives here have some questions to answer. Botany's coming off a good first up run in quite a fast race behind Vagrant, so that's good. However, her second up record's a bit sketchy, so pushes and pulls with her. El Salado's got credentials for sure, and there's definitely indications that he's going to be well fancied with Mark Zara booked. The question he's got to answer is the 1600. If he runs it out strong, he'll be in the finish. So yeah, it's tricky because there's only so much room in the market. Although the market these days, they can focus so heavily on the pointy end that it doesn't matter. The fringe dwellers just keep getting longer, and the pointy end of the market keeps getting tighter. Doesn't necessarily feel like that in this race though, so because there are a lot of runners here that will have some interest in them. And Navy Seal's another one. He's a Chris Waller runner that's building into his prep, comes through the same race as Zambaguni. He did get a perfect run there, but he's now third up, so that sort of profile with a Waller runner can attract some support, and it doesn't end there. So lively betting race, I would think. Another lively betting race will be race 7. So I think Jungle Jim might have actually gone up favourite here, but as soon as the markets went up, support arrived for Ray Magnerio. And D-Horn Unicorn comes down from Sydney representing the Sydney form with B Shin booked, and there'll be interest in him for sure. So it's a market that's going to shift around a bit, because I can't see Jungle Jim being shaken loose here. He's on the 7-day backup. He's a leader, and he goes well down the straight. So there'll be support around for all of those runners at different times in the market. I think the market's going to shift around a little bit, but the weight of money will probably see Ray Magnerio run favourite. Race 9 is a really intriguing race. Bel Air and Helix are up in grade, but Bel Air's a 4-year-old that's just in peak form, and if he arrives in the same shape he did last start, I just can't see any way he doesn't run favourite. And because Helix is tied to him and is on the 7-day backup, it indicates that Helix will run second pick. But that said, there are several runners here that there will be some interest in. Lafargue's off a last start big rating, albeit on his home track where he seems to go particularly well. He's our Bonneville's a good fresh horse, and he'll probably drift but then be specced at some point during the betting. Right and Rose is very hard to predict. He's a talented horse that has trialled well. He could move significantly either way. I'm leaning to the idea that he'll run in single figures. He's currently $11. Elkington Road will definitely attract support off a good first up run in a fast race, and he's had a trial since, or a jump out since. And both British Columbia and Space Track have mapped well enough to interest some punters. So, a very lively betting race, I would think, race 9. Race 10, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I don't really have a strong opinion here, and it's not a race I'm planning on getting involved in, but Johnny Rock is just worth mentioning. He's a lightly raced Queenslander appearing for the Nick Ryan stable with Johnny Allen booked. He's been well supported in early markets. It's just sort of building to a bit of an avalanche, really. So, you never know until late in the betting, but all roads here lead to this runner, being heavily supported. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the way it plays out. That'll do us for Flemington. Now, just quickly, the things that caught my eye when I was watching videos during the week, punters, the new segment. January 5 at Stawell, it was race 2. Horse in question was called Kiss Me Ned. Paddy Payne ran up with Dean Yendall riding. I don't want to be too harsh on Dean here because it wasn't necessarily his fault, but he sort of jumped, wanted to engage the horse in the race. Some other jockeys were just in front of him. He probably didn't have much choice but to come in behind them, and no sooner had he done that than they all just wanted to go to sleep and let the leaders get away, and he got stuck in behind them for quite a long period of the race. He eventually got to the outside in the home straight, and I feel sorry for anyone who backed Kiss Me Ned at Stawell. I see the horses in and accepted at Benalla on Sunday. I don't know the other horses in the race, but I'll assume he'll run favourite and probably win if he goes around there. Similar vein, but this time it ended with a victory. January 12 at Hamilton, it was race 3. The horse in question was Autumn Colours. It had one run for a Sydney trainer, having its first run for Simon Wilde. Who could have been sent down here to be eventually go run over the hurdles. Who knows? But so he was just, he wasn't in the market. He was ridden quietly. It's all fine. It took quite a while for Talia, I hope, to get him wound up. And as I'm watching the video, I'm thinking, that horse might run into about 4th or 5th place. And then I'm thinking, he's actually going to get into the placings, this horse. And on the line, I went, that horse might have won. Yeah, I had to watch it a couple of times to realise he did actually win the race. But what really caught my eye was when the camera panned back around and the run on it. This horse was a long way in front, so the overall time wasn't particularly fast, and perhaps it was just one of those cases where the horses in front were just coming back so quickly it exaggerated things. But he could be a horse with some staying talent, so it'll be interesting to see how he progresses from that race. That'll do us. Looks a good card at Flemington tomorrow, punters. I'm looking forward to it. So let's hope we back a few winners. Cheers.